Hi, everyone. Welcome to Chapter 2 of Fearless. In our first episode today, I have a conversation with my friend LeRon Barton. LeRon is a writer and a motivational speaker, and we talk about his book, All You Need Is Love, Stories of Dating, Relationships, Heartbreak, and Marriage. LeRon reminds us of why we must do whatever it takes to fall in love with ourselves. Whether it's writing, traveling, writing about our interests, or having conversations with people to truly understand ourselves first. Love is not a linear line, and it is quite complex. As LeRon reminds us, yet it is all we will ever need to feel a sense of belonging in this world. He reminds me of why it is so important that I continue to keep loving myself. Because the only way to spread compassion and love is to love yourself first. I really do hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did.
Ms. Coelho, thank you so much for having me. I got to be honest, I was really anticipating this interview. Even a couple weeks ago, I was like, all right, so we're gonna talk about this. I'm gonna hit her with this. Then when I got the questions, and I was like, all right, now, so it's gonna be a whole different thing. But I mean, I'm very excited to be on the show, though.
Great. So tell us a little bit about you and who you are and where you come from and what inspired you to be an author and a motivational speaker.
Yes, ma'am. So, my name is LeRon Barton. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, Southside 63rd Street. And I've been writing ever since I was younger. It's my favorite thing to do. It's the best thing that I know to do. Like growing up, my family was very artistic. My grandfather, he's a great painter. My mother wrote a lot, and she read a lot of books. My grandmother is a voracious reader. My brother, he is a really good illustrator. My aunt is a great cook, and she also dabbled in fashion design. And my father, he's an actor. So the arts was something that was always encouraged. I just remember being young and trying to write my own comic books. Like stapling together pieces of paper, and just I always love reading because for me, obviously like my mother's given me like the gift of life, Kay, but the most important thing that she taught me was how to read. And reading has really has taken my life in so many different directions. Just for me, writing it's all about creation. It's all about, creating new worlds. I used to always say the most beautiful thing in the world is a pencil and a blank piece of paper, because there's so many things that you can create from that. I just reading so many authors, Joyce, Steinbeck, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, people like Langston Hughes. Like my favorite book of fiction is F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. I've been reading it, and I was like, damn, like this is great. I love Joyce. Like I remember when I read Portrait of an Artist, and I was like, wow, this is pretty much me. And to later go to Dublin and see his statue, and I was like, damn, like so I mean, he was a huge influence. Also, Langston Hughes, he's my favorite poet. And so just to read his stuff, I mean, the poem Harlem is probably like my first or second favorite poem, that and Jabberwocky. It's just something about like, for me, like I love music, probably almost more than anything, but reading and just literature, that's always gonna be like my favorite medium. So yeah, that's pretty much, great. And I'm in San Francisco now. So, and I'm in my new place, which is something that, we're going to talk about as well. So
congratulations on your new place.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
One thing I do want to talk about with you is a very hot topic throughout our years is dating, because you also wrote a book on All You Need Is Love, which is one of my favorite Beatles songs. But I do want to talk about this whole subject of dating with you, and you could also ask me anything you want.
Oh man, I got a lot of questions. It's funny. It's like, so my first book was called Straight Dope, Your 360-Degree Look into American Drug Culture. Kay, the reason why that I wrote this book is because I've always been fascinated. Well, I guess let me rewind. So if anything, I'm a very inquisitive guy, and I love asking questions. Like, I love listening to people's stories more than anything. I feel like that I'm with myself about 24/7. So it's like, even I get tired of LeRon Barton. So it's like, being able to listen to somebody and not only listen, but sort of actively listen. A lot of people don't know how to do that very well, but I take great comfort, and it just feels good to just listen to people just tell stories. And so I was always curious as far as like, why are drugs so inundated in America? And so one of my favorite authors is a guy by the name of Studs Terkel. If you've never heard of Studs, he was an amazing writer. Like, not so much of a writer, but he was just an editor, because all he did was he just listened to stories, he would transcribe them and put them on paper. Like, he wrote a book called Race, which I think is the greatest book ever on race relations in America. And all Studs would do, Kay, is that he would pick a topic and he would say, all right, so we're going to write about race. And so he would just ask people all these questions, and he would try to get their responses as verbatim as possible. Of course, since he is an editor, he has to make things sort of fit. So after I did Straight Dope in the vein of Studs Terkel, I've always been really fascinated with love. Why people fall in love. How do people get some? How do people date? What do people look for? And it's always just been something that I've always loved to talk about. So I wanted to ask the question: how do people find love, fall in love, lose love, and regain love? And so from All We Really Need Is Love, which is a play on the Beatles song, All You Really Need Is Love, which, I'm more of a, she loves you guy. She loves you. Yeah. that song is incredible. So when you listen to people talk about, drugs and despair and, violence and sadness, that, it's very heavy. Like, there were times that, I would go home and I would sort of like, sit, I would sort of just like sit and just kind of like try to like download all this stuff off of me, because like, it could be heavy, but there's something about talking about romance people where people open up in a different way. And I got some really awesome stories, man. Like, and so I loved talking to people about that stuff,
And so you said you found your entire case list who helped you write this book on Craigslist, correct?
Yes, ma'am. So a lot of people. So what I would do is like I would just sort of like put ads out on Craigslist, and I would have people, email, hey, I saw your ad. I'd want to talk, and so I would take them out for coffee, take them out for lunch, and people just opened up. Like, I mean, I talked to people as young as like 21 to people almost like, in their 50s. And, everyone had a different story. And it wasn't one story that stood out, because I think that they were all great. I mean, there were some sad stories, guys cheating. And of course, like the woman's like, I've had enough. Matter of fact, I remember this one young lady, and I interviewed her and her significant other. And so she's like, she was an Asian, believe she was Chinese, and she's dating this guy, and he's been with her for 6 years, and he won't commit. And he's kind of like going around about. He's like, yo, like, I just don't have my stuff together. I want to be a good man for her. And I was like, what, will you leave this guy? And she was like, there's got to be like an answer done. So, like, that couple was interesting. It was really cool talking with this young lady. She's in her 20s, talking about how she found her husband. And one of the things, Kay, she said that was so ill. She was like, people, when people are looking, you have to be whole yourself. And I was like, wow, she's younger than I am. And mind you, what was interesting about this book, Kay, is like I was actually going through a heartbreak myself. So I'm writing about people's happiness, and I'm like nursing a heartbreak, and I was like, man, this is rich. But but I mean, that's just life, though. You dig?
Right. And also, I think that what helps us heal from something, especially a heartbreak, is to create a community of heartbreak, right? So I think that's what you.
Absolutely, which is
So,
sad, but I mean, like, misery loves company, right? I mean, like, mind you, like when I was so I was kind of working. I nearly had straight dope done, and so I immediately jumped into All We Really Needs Love because I had both of them planned out at the, I was like, look, I'm gonna come with straight dope, then I'm gonna do All We Really Need Is Love. Excuse me, I just have to put my glasses back on. When I was backpacking through Central America, I met this woman, and I was like, hey, tell me your story. And she told me this story. It was crazy, marriage, cheating, and she ended up almost alone. So the book has a lot of twists and turns in it, and it's just, love is not a linear line,
let's talk about. I know that in your book, you designed it in such a way that you have interludes in it,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And so one of the first interludes has to do with your heartbreak.
Right.
And
Right.
so tell us about that heartbreak. I'm going to
Man.
dissect it a little bit more
Right.
after
Yeah.
you tell
No.
us your
It's
story.
it's funny because Tiffany, was the first love of my life. Right. I was 17 years old. She's the first girl that I said I loved. One thing about love in different stages of your life is it's different, right? So you could call that. I mean, that was my first love, and so it was really pure. It was like, oh man, Tiffany, beautiful. I mean, she was a really great person. It's just that when you're young, you have all these unrealistic expectations of how things play out. And so, she cheated on me. I mean, like, she was 17, I was 18, just devastated. And it's one thing, it's funny, Kay, that, you bring that up, is like talking to my brother about this years ago. He said, LeRon, I don't think you ever really got over that, because by Tiffany hurting me, that sort of changed my trajectory on how I viewed relationships, and it's like, after that, I was off to the races. So I mean, like, that, I mean, like, but see, though, but like, see, like, that's such a man thing, right? It's like men, like, we get hurt by one woman, and it's like and it's like, what? I never put myself out out there like that. Most women who will get hurt, they'll be like, look, what? Let me heal. Let me kind of get a little crazy, but let me get back to let me get back to myself. And it's by Tiffany hurting me, like, I don't, like, there were so many things that went into that relationship that I can't really talk about, but there was just, I mean, family drama, like, and when you're young and when you don't come from stable situations, you tend to sort of do things that aren't very healthy for you. But I mean, it was important for me to put her into the book. And if you notice, like, in the book, I had like a little postscript about her, right? And we talked, and she was like, well, I felt that your family hated me, and my family didn't hate her. It was just that, there was so much conflict between her family, my family, and things just got kind of caught up.
Sure, right. One of the things that, and correct me if I'm wrong, what
Yes.
I remember from that interlude was that when you first met her, she was dating another one of your friends.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
So
I have a question about that, right?
please, yes, ma'am.
Because trust is such an important piece in any relationship. And like you said, it really set the stage and set the tone, right?
Absolutely.
For you and your relationships moving forward. So what made you trust her from the get-go, right? If she was dating somebody else and you met and...
You know what, like, yeah, like, so, like, I was young, and so, I'm about to give people some free game. The way you meet somebody is the way you will lose them, right? I mean, straight up, like, that's just like 9 times out of 10. So when we met each other, and it was such a strong attraction. I mean, Tiffany, like, she introduced me to like indie films, like we were both into grunge. Like, like we just, we just like different things. But I shouldn't have done that to my then friend Charles. Like, that was something that I would never do now. That's just the way it is. You meet this guy, he's awesome. You date him, you find out he has somebody, he leaves her for you. 6 years down the line, you're gonna be looking over your shoulder. Like, that's just, that's just what it is.
Well, that's great piece of insight, and you got to witness that and experience that at a very young age.
Yes, ma'am.
So, how has your love story been since?
Well, so man, wow, 15 minutes into it, huh? I'm single now. You know what I mean? My fiance and I, we've decided to put things on hold for a while, date other people. So my love story has been really interesting because I've met a lot of really good women. Like I've met some women who have changed my life. Obviously, my fiance is an incredible woman. I mean, they're all gorgeous, beautiful women. In the book, I think I do like a poem where I'm just talking about all of them. And the great thing about that is, with the exception of one, we're all on great terms. I wouldn't call us friends because it's kind of hard to be friends after that, because my love is so intense. but oh my God, Kay's like, oh Jesus. but no, like we're all in good, healthy space.
That's great. So one of the things you also write in your book is about the city of love. Right. And when I went to Paris, I definitely felt like I was loved by the universe.
It's an incredible city, right?
It's a beautiful city. And I went there with two of my best friends, and we had an amazing time. And it was a strange trip in the sense that the universe just made everything just happen for us, And so when I was reading this interlude in your book,
right.
You said that you weren't having a good time, or because, you didn't speak much French or any French. And so you found it hard to be in that city. But then you met this beautiful woman, and that changed your mind about Paris.
Right. So but I've always loved to travel. When I was younger, I would sit in the middle of the floor, and I grabbed the travel news section, and I would look at like all them deals. And so, my mom, she always wanted to go to Paris. She always said, oh my God, Paris is so beautiful. You know what I mean? Paris. And so I took the Channel train, which, for those who don't know, it's a train from London to Paris. It takes like 2 hours, just flat. And so I get there, I'm staying in a place called Le Clichy. And, Clichy's kind of a rough, it's a rough area. Clichy's real. So there were two things that really struck me. I saw a young boy who could have been my son. He had his scarf tied in a way that, when I seen him, I never forget him, because he was just this absolutely gorgeous young black child. And I seen his scarf, and I was like, wow. And so, but I'm in Paris. I'm just not enjoying myself. I don't speak French. People are really big on manners there. I remember there was one time that like I was on the bus, and so this bus driver, every time she would let somebody out, she would go, "Merci, merci." and so I'm trying to come up to her. I'm trying to talk, and she's looking at me like, okay, like, so I say something to the effect of, excuse me, Madame Le Cliché, merci beaucoup, whatever, just some broken French. And so, she complies. She sends me on my way. When I'm in the subway, and I'm looking for, I'm trying, like I've got like my little map, and I'm looking around, I'm trying to figure out. And so I see this woman. She was so beautiful, like skin like porcelain. She looked like, gosh, I can't describe the celebrity, but she had this long, beautiful curly hair. She just the way that she was composed, and she was so calm. And so I seen her, and I was like, "Hi, do you think you can help me?" And she was like, "Sure." And I remember me saying, "Oh my God, you speak English." And so I'm on the train with her, and we're talking, and something's telling me, it's like, you gotta tell me, like, LeRon, get her email, get her number, because you may not see her again. And so I got her email. I emailed her as soon as I got to Amsterdam, and I was just like, wow, this is, at the time, this was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen in my life. Like, I truly understood what love at first sight was, because I had never seen anyone like that, like who just had, she had grace, and I never seen a woman that had that. So again, it was doomed from the get-go. Like, she lives in Paris, I'm in Kansas City, I'm Catholic, she's Muslim, she was Algerian, I'm Black. And so because of that, the only way for us to be together is for me to convert to Islam, because I'm not Algerian. And I said, well, no, because I just converted to Catholicism last year, and that's the best thing I've ever done in my life. And so my faith in God was so strong, I gave up an incredible woman. When you're younger, Kay, you think love conquers all, right? You think, hence the now Kay's like, no. But I mean, it's like, yo, like, hence the title of the book. All we really need is love. You think that love is this sort of this big canceller, and you realize that love isn't enough. Just to be totally vulnerable. Like, I cried, like, I was sad for a year straight. Like, it took me such a long time to really get over that woman, but it's a different kind of heartbreak. But I mean, we still care for each other, and I keep saying, whenever I get over to Paris, I'm gonna look her up. But the last time that I was over there, I was with my fiance, and I was like, so
So that, yeah, I mean, when you said that she was Algerian and she was Islamic and you were Catholic and you're Black, that makes me think about these interracial marriages and relationships. Right. And sometimes they work out, right?
Right.
And sometimes it's that there's a lot more to battle, right?
Yes,
than just...
absolutely. For me, when it comes to interracial relationships, so first off, you have to understand that the person, there's going to be something that's going to be said, or something that's going to happen that is going to offend you. I remember something that Dr. Phil said. He said, anytime you're in a relationship, the person will hurt you. Maybe not intentionally, maybe intentionally, but because we're imperfect people, that's what's going to happen. Being that I've done interracial relationships, in the past, I've definitely had, and plus, mind you, I wasn't the person that I am today. Like, I'm wearing a Trayvon sweater. Like, I'm much more learned about racism. Like, I talk about racism every single day. So who I was, LeRon, who dated Carrie, who was a white woman, he's different than who I am today. Would I ever date interracially? Absolutely. Like, would I date a white girl? I just, it's just, I don't know, man. I mean, that probably won't ever happen again. Like, where I am as far as race and understanding the system of racism, white supremacy, and understanding that the power differential is so stark. It's so large. And just plus on top of that, Kay, like, I don't want to be a racial teacher. Like, not not saying let's say you and I dated, right? And there's going to be aspects of your culture I'm not going to be familiar with. There's going to be aspects of my culture you're not going to be familiar with, and that's to be expected. But if it's just all the way left, if you're just starting from like just so low, like I don't have time to like I don't want you to ask me why is so. Studs Terkel's book on race had this quote that I'll never forget. Studs was talking to this Mexican guy, and he asked him, "Would you ever date a white woman?" And he said no. And Studs was like, "Well, why not?" And so Studs said, "I'm sorry." And the guy says, "Well, because I don't want her to ask me why I want chorizo and eggs for breakfast." And I didn't understand what the guy meant, but I knew that it was something. And so years later, I was like, "Damn, that's real. That's real talk." I would much rather date somebody who is a non-white person who understand, like Kay, like you would probably never ask me, "Yo, why is Malcolm X your favorite historical person?" You would probably know off the rip, or you would or it's like you would ask, "Well, why did you talk about Cesar Chavez in your TEDx speech?" There would be no question why I would revere somebody like a Fred Hampton, why I with all my being love Malala Yousafzai. You know what I mean? It's just there's a certain understanding that we have. I think that if you first off, so love is very rare, right? Like, people don't fall. Like, I've been fortunate enough to truly love four women so far. On obviously, different levels. But if you find somebody who loves you and who supports you, if you find somebody who's just kind of down for you, then it's like, yo, like, this person can take you to the top, though. You know what I mean?
Right. And so have you ever dated an Indian girl before?
Unfortunately, Indian women do not find me attractive. So I just haven't really had the chance. I would jump at the opportunity,
Great. And I'm glad that you're here today because I also want to break the cycles within the Indian community, right?
Yes.
There's all this there's a lot of stigma behind Indian people dating African Americans, right? And so
it's pretty rare, right?
Well, there is this social media influencer who posts about Indian couples, Indian and African American couples. Actually, they're trying to normalize the whole fact behind like South Asian cultures dating African Americans. Which I really love because it is rare, but it's mainly because of the older generation, usually parents and family, it's racism, really.
Right.
If you
Absolutely,
it's racism, and it's people having judgment about other people without knowing them, making assumptions of their background because of what they see on television and what they're taught to believe, right? And that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, we're all people. We need to be respected regardless of the color of our skin.
Right.
And colorism also is a big deal in the Indian community, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you could be Indian and you could be dark, and your partner could be super light. Her or his parents will also not be okay with it because you're from the color of your skin means you're from a different caste, right? And casteism a whole nother ball game.
When we look at beauty standards in America, blonde hair, blue eyes. I mean, Margot Robbie's beautiful. I mean, we look at black women. I mean, Beyonce, she's a lighter skinned woman. Even Latinas, J-Lo, she's a lighter skinned woman. So everything is based on colorism and anti-blackness because our beauty standards are not dark skinned people. Look, I'm a dark skinned man. So in certain facets or in certain corners of the world, I wouldn't represent what beauty is in the African American community, even in the diaspora period. So I'm glad that you recognize that because I think that since we're using the term normalize, Kay, I think we need to normalize that beauty comes in all shades, and colors. I mean, when I was younger, I always wanted to be lighter at one point in my life, because I was like, oh man, I was indoctrinated with that white supremacist thought that, being light means pretty. And so I used to like scrub my face with hot water and soap to make myself lighter. Like I had a really good friend of mine, my friend Nigel. He was a he was much lighter than I was, and I would ask him, "Am I getting light?" And he'd be like, sure," And so one day, I told my mom, I was like, "Yo, I don't want to be dark anymore." And she said, "LeRon, you are beautiful. You are a beautiful, dark skinned child. Don't ever say that. I've always wanted to be darker because my mother's like your shade. We still haven't shaken those shackles yet, and that's the sad part."
And how do we do that? What would you recommend us doing?
Once again, we need to normalize, black is beautiful, dark is beautiful. Even if so, you ever seen the movie Malcolm X? All right, cool. Have you read the autobiography? It's the most influential book in my life. And so in the movie and in the book, he talks about how even in the dictionary, dark is always considered as negative, and white and light and fair. And so we need to, like, I hate using this term, but I'm gonna use it anyway. We need to reclaim such a corny term, but we need to reclaim dark for being beautiful. Like, there needs to be more representation of just people, not only from a skin perspective, but all shapes and sizes.
I totally, totally agree with you. And thanks for sharing that with us.
So with the apps, what I believe, Kay, is like, I think the apps make things more disposable. Like, and like people like, so we're already in an era of short attention span, right? You're like, people are like, oh, okay, something's hot today, next Wednesday, people are gonna forget about it. And so if you combine that with dating, and just, I mean, I think that if people were more honest about what they want initially, then that could save a lot of heartbreak. But men, we're a lot of men are not taught how to deal with conflict. So like for me, I'm sorry, deal with conflict in a mature, healthy way. So, and this is something that I've realized with myself, Kay, is like, it's nothing for me to engage in physical conflict. And I used to always say that, I used to be like, yo, like, why is it easier for me to be like, all right, cool, you know what, we try to talk it out. You want to fight me? Great, cool. Let's do it. Versus me talking to a significant other and me trying to drill down why this is a problem. And what I've come to realize is that it doesn't take anything to engage physically. It's just like hitting each other in a very, very short time, and someone breaks it up. But when you have to resolve conflict with someone you love, and you have to communicate, it's hard, because for some reason, men, and I have this bad myself, is like, we sometimes infantilize women, and we think that you guys are not as strong as you are. It's like, if I do this, I'm gonna crush her. Oh man, like, let me try to keep the peace. Let me, you know, I don't want to hurt her. But what we don't understand is that by not being honest, that will hurt her, still. So,
And also, by not being honest, you're repressing feelings, which will at some point come out.
absolutely, man. Yeah, bingo. Exactly. Like, yeah, like, so being honest up front. I mean, but that's not an easy thing, Kay. Because I mean, going back to what you said, when you come from environments that are toxic, or so I'm gonna say something that's gonna be very controversial, but
Ooh, I like it.
yeah, but I mean, it is what it is. There is a big difference between dating a woman that comes from a healthy family dynamic versus someone that doesn't. It's a world of difference. I've done both, and let me tell you, uh, when when people don't see loving proper relationships, like I did not grow up and see what a normal relationship is, because my mother and my father were not together. So I try to emulate my father a lot, trying to go from woman to woman, thinking that that's what I needed to be, trying to be clever, which is trickery of the devil, and just trying to be nice but not 100% honest. And so what that did is uh, that hurt some people, and ended up hurting me at the end. So it's I don't know. I mean, it's a tough thing. I mean, it's like what I said earlier. Like, we are all imperfect people, so being hurt is inevitable.
Right. Right. But also finding, this is my belief, finding
Yes.
the right partner. I mean, everybody has trauma, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody comes from a past
Absolutely.
of trauma. So finding a partner is not about healing, because you will always be healing from something, right?
Totally agree
It's
with
just
that.
finding a partner who's supportive of your past, right? Who's supportive of you and your triggers, and also be able to help you, heal. And that's also assuming that your partner is good for you, right? Like, you're
Right.
finding the right partner, and that's the hard part, right?
Right.
And in order to find the hard part is you have to get to know each other. And right now I feel like a lot of people just get into a relationship really quickly
Right.
without getting to know each other and each other's past. And I think that's what is important.
Definitely. No, like, it's nothing wrong with getting to know people. Like I feel like the old age of courting is gone, because, I mean, everyone wants to get together quick, everyone wants to have sex quick, and it's just like, like, there's like no, like, there's just no getting to know them on an intellectual, mental, emotional, spiritual level. It's just all about, like, okay, you want to hang out, let's go to a bar, let's kind of ply her with drinks, and then let's take her home. And then it's there's no, like, it's so accelerated. And I just try to just ask, like, why? Like, 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 that's one thing. Like, Kay, for me, like, I miss dating because I love to get to know people, and I love hearing people's story, and so, like, I was never, I mean, at one point I was interested in sleeping around, but now I'm I'm at the point where, like, I just find people fascinating, and I've always found women so fascinating because y'all are so dynamic, like, just so soft but so hard, and just dealing with a world that just, men hate women. So I and well, I mean, it's just true, like, you know what I mean. But the fact that, y'all are thriving, and just, it's just, it's a beautiful thing.
All right. On that note, I'm going to ask you one last question about dating. So any advice and tips on single people on how to create their own profile on
Yes.
online dating?
All right. So this is for my ladies out there. For one, stop. All right. So let's say you have 5 photos, right? Don't have 2 photos of you and your girls. Like, that's, listen, like, no one wants to see the ski trip, the Vegas bachelorette weekend. We don't care about that. 2, I'm, I'm about to keep it all the way live. Listen, like, full body pictures, like, like the car selfies, man. Listen, get somebody to take your pictures for you. Look, you want to invest in yourself. So basically, doing like 4 and 5 of these, like, like, that's not gonna work. Have one picture of you and your dog. That's cool. Listen, I love animals. I'm a cat person, but I love animals. If you're just having just like you like 5 pictures of you and your dog, we're gonna be thinking, all right, that's your whole world. Um, also have pictures of you smiling. For me, I love a woman's smile. I love seeing a woman having a good time. And stop with the sunglasses pictures, yo. You're like, do you swipe right to pass them? Yeah, swipe, yeah. Listen, like full body shots, action shots, no shots with the girls because your girlfriends could be looking better than you, and plus, honestly, that kind of tells a guy that you could be hiding. So I mean, I'm just telling you, what I like. And one more thing, Kay, we know about them filters. Straight up, we know about them. So don't try to con us. Just like I never understood that, right? Because the mission is to meet somebody, right? Look, I'm 6'2". I'm not gonna say I'm 6'7". Like, come on, like just be honest, right? And this is to everybody, young folks out there. If I can leave you with three pieces of advice, exercise, take care of your credit, because the world is so different when you have good credit. I got good credit about 5 years ago, and it's like a whole new world open up. And finally, just take it easy on the booze and the Mary Jane, because that can really affect your body. Life is beautiful. I don't want to be like clouded. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I love a mean martini, but it's like I want to be lucid. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much for being here today, LeRon. It was such a pleasure talking to you. I got so much from this conversation.
I know, it's so crazy. Jeez Louise.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for listening in today. I super appreciate it. I really do hope that you enjoy this conversation I had with LeRon about literature, art, travel, and love. After my conversation with LeRon, I was super inspired to read more literary works, the classics, and craft more of my writing, and certainly talk to so many more people and just get to know their stories. I really did feel super uplifted and inspired to love myself more by doing the things I truly am interested in. And I really hope that he inspired you too. If you'd like to get in touch with LeRon, feel free to look in the details of the show for his information, as well as go to my webpage, www.kayfrancescacoelho.com. If you know somebody you think that would be great with an interview with me, feel free to drop me a line. Or if you want to share a topic that I haven't covered yet that you'd like me to cover, feel free to drop me a line on my Instagram and my webpage. I also wanted to remind you that a video version of this podcast is available on my YouTube channel. This season's going to be all about love and compassion and sharing it with yourself and the world around you. So I'd really, really appreciate it if you shared this season, this chapter 2, with your friends, family, friends of friends, and family friends, and whoever is in your circle. Feel free to share it with them. I really do appreciate you listening, and I hope you will be joining me next week. Thanks so much.